The fitting room was too quiet except for the harsh hum of the fluorescent lights above me. I stood in front of the mirror, tugging at a dress that felt tighter than it should. Every wrinkle, every curve, every little change in my body over the years seemed magnified under that cold light. I had gone in expecting a little fun, maybe even a boost of confidence. Instead, I felt a lump rising in my throat. Before I knew it, tears had blurred my reflection. It wasn't just about the dress. It was about the years it had taken me to get here, to a place where my body no longer felt like my own. I thought about the clothes I used to wear, the way I used to feel walking into a room. Somewhere along the way, I had traded that joy for practicality, and that sparkle for something age appropriate. But in that fitting room, I realized I had been quietly letting my confidence slip away. That moment could have ended there. Me crying, leaving the store, promising myself I'd just make do with what I had. But something inside me refused to give in. Maybe it was pride. Maybe it was a spark of the woman I used to be. Whatever it was, it whispered, "You're not done yet. You can still feel beautiful." And that's exactly what happened. That tearful moment became the turning point I didn't know I needed. It set me on a journey to rediscover my style, my confidence, and the joy of getting dressed every single day. I learned lessons that changed not just the way I shop, but the way I see myself. Because sometimes the mirror doesn't just show us what's wrong, it shows us what's missing. And when we find the courage to look closely, we might just find the version of ourselves we've been waiting for. And it all began with the first lesson I learned, that the problem was never my body. The problem was never my body. When I looked at myself in that fitting room mirror, my first instinct was to blame my body. It's what so many of us have been conditioned to do, to see every flaw as a personal failure. I thought, maybe if I were slimmer, maybe if I were younger, maybe if I just worked harder at hiding these imperfections. But then I remembered something I once read in a fashion magazine. Clothes should fit you, not the other way around. That sentence rang in my ears as I stood there tugging at a zipper that didn't want to budge. The truth hit me. The problem wasn't me. The problem was the dress. It wasn't cut for my shape, my posture, or my life now. And yet, how many times had I walked away from a store thinking, I'm the one who doesn't measure up? Fashion has a way of making us feel like we have to fit into its mold. But at this stage of life, we deserve the opposite. We deserve clothing that celebrates the lives we've lived, the curves we've earned, and the comfort we've rightfully come to value. That's when I started looking at my wardrobe differently and shopping differently too. I began paying attention to the details I had ignored before. Was the fabric forgiving? Did the waistline sit where my natural waist actually was? Or was it trying to force me into proportions that no longer made sense? Was the cut flattering from all angles, or only when I stood perfectly still? I learned that certain cuts, like A-line skirts, tailored jackets, and wrap dresses, had a way of honoring my shape instead of fighting it. And here's the truth no one told me. The right fit can take years off your look without you changing a single thing about your body. It's not about squeezing into a size you wore at 30. It's about finding pieces that make you stand taller, smile wider, and feel instantly confident. This is why so many experts in flattering clothing for older women emphasize structure, movement, and proportion over trends. I stopped settling for clothes that almost worked. If it didn't make me feel beautiful from the moment I tried it on, it didn't come home with me. I started shopping with the mindset that I was the standard, not the mannequin, not the catalog, not the outdated size chart. That change alone lifted a weight off my shoulders. Instead of dreading the fitting room, I began to see it as a place of discovery. And the more I chose pieces that worked for me, the more my confidence grew. But fit is only part of the story. Even the most perfectly tailored dress can lose its magic if the color is wrong. And that's the next lesson I learned. The power of color. The second thing I realized that day was something I had never paid enough attention to: color. Under those harsh fitting room lights, the dress I had chosen, a pale, washed out beige, seemed to drain every bit of life from my face. My skin looked dull, my eyes lost their spark, and the lines on my face appeared deeper. I could feel my mood sink just by looking at my reflection. It wasn't that beige was a bad color. On the right person, in the right light, it can be chic and understated. But on me, in that moment, it was working against me. That was the day I started to understand that color is not just decoration, it's transformation. Certain shades can lift the complexion, make your eyes look brighter, and give the illusion of smoother skin, all without a single drop of makeup. That's why anti-aging colors are such a powerful tool for women over 60. The right hue can do more for your appearance than the most expensive cream in your cabinet. I began experimenting. Jewel tones like sapphire blue and emerald green gave my skin a healthy glow. Soft blush pinks added warmth to my cheeks, while rich plums made my silver hair look luminous. Even neutrals, when chosen wisely, became my allies. Warm taupe instead of stark beige, creamy ivory instead of flat white, deep navy instead of black. These subtle shifts brought my whole face to life. I also learned about color analysis for mature women. By figuring out whether my undertone was warm, cool, or neutral, I could instantly narrow down a palette that would work for me. And here's the secret. Once you find your best colors, shopping becomes easier, faster, and far less frustrating. It wasn't just about looking younger, though the right colors can take years off your appearance. It was about feeling vibrant, present, and fully myself. Wearing colors that loved me back made me walk taller, smile more, and yes, even enjoy the fitting room. The impact was so profound that I stopped buying anything in a maybe color. If it didn't light up my face the moment I tried it on, it stayed on the rack. And when I combined this lesson with what I'd learned about fit, the transformation was undeniable. Color is a silent language. It speaks before you do. It tells the world whether you're tired or radiant, invisible or unforgettable. And when you choose colors intentionally, you're sending a message that you are here, confident, and unapologetically yourself. But even the perfect fit and the perfect color can lose their magic if the fabric itself betrays you. And that's the next lesson I had to learn. Fabric speaks louder than labels. The third lesson came to me quietly, almost by accident. After finding a dress in a flattering cut and a color that lit up my face, I thought I had solved the problem. But the moment I touched the fabric, I knew something was off. It was thin, overly shiny, and felt almost scratchy against my skin. I could tell it would wrinkle within minutes of wearing it. That's when I realized fabric has a voice of its own. It speaks before you do, and it often speaks louder than the label stitched inside. No matter how perfect the fit or how flattering the color, if the fabric looks cheap, the entire outfit suffers. And at this stage of life, when we're aiming for luxury fashion over 60, fabric quality is non-negotiable. The truth is, certain fabrics naturally convey elegance and longevity. Soft, breathable cotton blends that hold their shape. Smooth silks and satins that drape beautifully. Wools and cashmeres that feel as luxurious as they look. Linen with just enough structure to look relaxed, but not sloppy. Even synthetic blends, when done well, can mimic the feel of higher-end textiles and offer comfort without sacrificing style. On the other hand, overly shiny polyester, stiff acrylic knits, and paper-thin blends tend to cheapen your look instantly. They cling in the wrong places, lose their shape after one wash, and make even the most expensive design look like an afterthought. This is why quality fabrics for older women are such a game changer. They give structure where you need it, softness where you crave it, and durability that makes every purchase feel worthwhile. Once I began paying attention to fabric, my shopping habits changed dramatically. I started touching every piece before I even looked at the price tag. I held it up to the light to see how it draped. I ran my fingers over the seams to feel how well it was made. I learned that luxury isn't always about the brand. It's about how something feels on your body and how it holds up over time. And here's the beautiful part. Investing in quality fabrics doesn't mean spending a fortune. It means choosing wisely. I've found gorgeous, well-made pieces in outlet stores, thrift shops, and end-of-season sales. The key is knowing what to look for and refusing to settle for less. The difference this made in my wardrobe was remarkable. Suddenly, I didn't just look better, I felt better. There's a quiet confidence that comes from knowing your clothes will hold their shape, move with you, and look just as good at the end of the day as they did when you put them on. But there was still one piece of the puzzle missing. Because even with the right fit, color, and fabric, something else was silently shaping my entire look. And that something was my hair. Hair, the silent game changer. When I think back to that day in the fitting room, I remember the dress, the color, and the fabric. But there's another detail that stands out in my memory: my hair. It was pulled back hastily, a few strands out of place, the color faded from weeks without a salon visit. In the unforgiving mirror, my hair made me look tired. That was the moment I realized how much my hairstyle had been quietly influencing my overall appearance. Clothes can elevate you, but your hair frames your face. It's the first thing people notice, and it can instantly add or subtract years from your look. I had been putting so much effort into my wardrobe while ignoring one of my most powerful style tools. As I began exploring hairstyles for women over 60, I was amazed at how much possibility there was. The right cut could make my jawline look sharper, my cheekbones more defined, and my neck longer. A strategic fringe could soften fine lines across my forehead. Layers could add movement and volume to thinning hair, making it look fuller and healthier. Color played a role too. I had always believed that covering every strand of silver was non-negotiable. But then I discovered anti-aging haircuts paired with expertly blended highlights and lowlights that worked with my natural gray rather than against it. The result wasn't just youthful, it was sophisticated and effortless. I also learned that length isn't the enemy. There's a myth that women over 60 must keep their hair short, but I've seen elegant shoulder-length cuts, long bobs, and even soft waves that look stunning on mature women. The key is choosing a shape and style that works with your hair's natural texture and your face shape, rather than chasing trends. And it's not only about the cut or color, it's about the health of your hair. I started treating my hair like a luxury fabric, nourishing it with deep conditioners, protecting it from heat, and scheduling regular trims to keep it fresh. Just as high-quality fabrics elevate an outfit, healthy, shiny hair elevates your entire presence. The first time I walked into a fitting room after my hair transformation, I noticed something incredible. Even before I tried anything on, I felt more confident. My reflection looked brighter, more awake, more me. Clothes that had felt flat before suddenly looked intentional. It was as if my hair had unlocked the full potential of my style. But even with the perfect hair, clothes, and colors, there's one thing that can undo it all: the way we see ourselves. And that's where the next lesson comes in. Confidence starts on the inside. There's a truth I wish I had learned sooner. No matter how flattering the dress, how vibrant the color, or how perfect the haircut, nothing shines brighter than the way you carry yourself. And that comes from the inside. That day in the fitting room, before I found the right pieces, I remember my posture. My shoulders were slouched, my gaze was down, and my inner voice was cruel. I picked apart every detail: the lines on my face, the softness around my waist, the way my arms looked in the light. It's no wonder nothing looked right. I wasn't just trying on clothes, I was wearing years of self-doubt. It took time, but I realized that my reflection was being filtered through a lens of self-criticism. If we only focus on what we believe is wrong, That's all we'll see. The real turning point came when I began replacing that internal voice with one that sounded more like a supportive friend. For me, confidence started with small, daily rituals. I chose one thing each morning to celebrate. Maybe it was the glow in my skin after using a new anti-aging skincare routine, or the way my favorite earrings caught the light. I practiced standing tall, even when I didn't feel like it, because body language can trick the mind into believing. And I began wearing outfits that made me feel good even if no one else saw them, because dressing well for myself reminded me that I was worth the effort. I also learned to be kinder to my body. At 60 and beyond, our bodies have carried us through decades of living. They've seen joy, loss, laughter, and resilience. Every line and curve tells a story. Instead of hiding them, I began to honor them. That shift in perspective didn't just change how I saw myself, it changed how others saw me. And here's the beautiful irony. Once I stopped obsessing over my flaws, I found that I made bolder style choices. I tried colors I once avoided, played with accessories, and embraced styles I had thought weren't for me. Confidence became my best accessory. And it didn't cost a thing. The truth is, fashion and beauty over 60 aren't about erasing age. They're about embracing it with intention. And when you stand in front of the mirror with self-respect, you don't just see clothes, you see possibility. That's why my final and most important lesson is this: fashion is meant to be enjoyed, not endured. Fashion is to be enjoyed, not endured. There was a time when shopping for clothes felt like a test I was destined to fail. I would walk into stores bracing myself for disappointment, ready to squeeze into something uncomfortable, settle for a good enough color, or buy a dress that didn't excite me just because it was on sale. It was as if fashion were a chore, a set of rules I had to follow rather than a way to express who I was. But after that fitting room awakening, I realized something powerful. Fashion should be joyful. At any age, but especially after 60, what we wear should lift our spirits, not weigh them down. The point of style inspiration over 60 isn't to meet someone else's idea of beauty. It's to dress in a way that makes us feel alive, confident, and authentically ourselves. I started approaching shopping differently. Instead of asking, "Will this make me look acceptable?" I asked, "Will this make me smile when I catch my reflection?" I let myself gravitate toward fabrics I wanted to touch, colors that made my skin glow, and silhouettes that let me move freely. I gave myself permission to break the so-called age rules. I wore soft leather jackets with elegant silk scarves. I paired sneakers with flowing midi skirts for long days out. I even embraced pieces I once thought were too bold, like a statement necklace or a patterned coat, because they made me feel vibrant. The more I enjoyed my clothes, the more others noticed. Not because the outfits were extravagant, but because joy is visible. It changes your posture, your smile, the way you enter a room. And joy is contagious. I've had strangers stop me to say, "You look amazing," when in truth, I was wearing something simple, but I was wearing it with delight. That's the real magic. When you stop enduring fashion and start enjoying it, it becomes less about covering your body and more about expressing your soul. This is why I believe fashion freedom for mature women is one of the greatest anti-aging tools we have. It's not about chasing trends or trying to look like we did at 30. It's about dressing for the life we have now and making sure that life feels full of possibility. So the next time you step into a fitting room, remember, it's not a place for judgment, it's a place for discovery. Each outfit is an invitation to see yourself in a new way. And when you find something that makes you light up, that's when you know it belongs in your wardrobe. And that's why, looking back, I'm grateful for the tears I shed that day, because they opened the door to a whole new way of seeing myself. Conclusion: from tears to transformation. When I think back to that quiet fitting room, I can still feel the weight of that moment. The sting of the tears, The disappointment in my reflection, the voice in my head whispering that I'd lost something I could never get back. But what I've learned since is that sometimes the moments that feel like breaking points are actually turning points. That day taught me 6 lessons that reshaped my relationship with style and with myself. I discovered that the problem was never my body, that color has the power to transform, that fabric speaks louder than labels, that hair is a silent game changer, that confidence begins on the inside, and that fashion is meant to be enjoyed, not endured. Each one of these shifts brought me closer to a version of myself that feels vibrant, authentic, and unapologetically confident. And the best part? None of it required me to change who I was, only to see and celebrate her more clearly. That's the real beauty of anti-aging fashion tips for women over 60. They're not about turning back the clock, but about making the most of every moment we're in right now. If you've ever stood in front of a mirror and felt less than beautiful, I want you to know this: your style, your beauty, and your confidence are still yours to claim. The clothes, the colors, the fabrics, they're tools, but you are the masterpiece they frame. So the next time you step into a fitting room, let it be with curiosity instead of fear. Try on something unexpected. Play with a shade you've never worn before. Run your fingers over a fabric that feels luxurious against your skin. Look at yourself not for what you think is wrong, but for everything that is still so wonderfully right. And if this story has resonated with you, I hope you'll join me on this journey. Subscribe for more stories, style advice, and inspiration made for women just like us. Women who are ready to live, dress, and shine on their own terms. Because the best outfit you'll ever wear is the one that makes you feel like yourself. Transition to next video suggestion. And if you're ready for even more inspiration, my next video, 10 outfit ideas that make you look younger instantly, is the perfect place to start.